10 changes on the Zack Snyder cut. Well, fellow comic nerds, it's finally time. After 4 years of promises and expectations, the Snyder cut is finally here. The Justice League came out to theaters in 2018, but production was incredibly difficult and was surrounded with tragedy. Zack Snyder left the production after a personal tragedy, since his daughter passed away. He left the project and had a moment for himself and his family to mourn the loss of a young woman in the family. The project went to the hands of Avengers past director Joss Whedon, and neither fans or critics were happy. The movie was encountered with bad reviews and a low income on its opening weekend, and every fan put their opinions on Twitter and demanded for what it was deemed the Snyder Cut. That is the movie that he created and had planned as the director of the prior DCU movies. Let's see how it goes for him. My man, welcome back to Top Things. Today we're going to be talking about the newest version of the Justice League, or the Snyder version of the movie. This movie has so much hype behind it, it's exciting. And we're here to tell you the differences between the two versions. Of course, since they're two of the same movies, there's going to be comparisons and opinions. But first, tell us who's your favorite DC character. Could it be Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman? Leave your comments down below. Let's get into the video, but be aware this video includes spoilers for the whole movie. If, for some reason, you haven't seen it, drop a like and come back later. Technical changes. Now, the original project was created by Zack back in early 2015. He planned this part of the story from the beginning with Man of Steel, and he sure had a vision. The Joss Whedon version of the movie, or as fans decided to call it, Justice League, was edited to cut down Zack's scenes that he had previously filmed and planned. Not only did it change the story, it also changed the way the movie looks and feels. The theatrical version was released in 16:9, which is normal for a widescreen release. But the Snyder Cut has a very artistic look to it, even for a superhero commercial release in 4:3. That way, there's more space vertically to see the characters leave and enter the screen with their flying powers. The color palette also differs from both movies. Zack's version is more gritty and dark to reflect the actions and feelings of the superheroes, and Whedon's version has a more commercial look to it. The biggest difference is the length of the movie. The now released Snyder Cut has a runtime of 4 hours, divided in 6 parts, with an epilogue. Some fans would describe the experience of watching this film as the experience of spending an afternoon reading comics. Very immersive and lasting. Introductions to our heroes. What really drives this story is the character study that Zack works into the drama. This movie really creates an immersive experience that lets scenes breathe and enter your mind. In this universe, characters exist in other aspects other than action figures, and we see them live their lives and exist in the world. And it makes sense that this director has the power to tell an incredible story with characters that have been in his mind for more than 4 years, since he's the one in charge of the DCU since the beginning. His heroes are godlike figures that have problems with grasping humankind and their humanity. So in reality, Zack's work and his version of the DCU create a study of what it's like to be a human and the experiences that make us. He treats characters like Batman and Superman with the respect that they deserve, since they carry the legacy and history of the DCU. But he is also conscious of the care that new, not known characters deserve, so they become a new addition to the universe we know and love. Such is the case with the lesser-known heroes, Cyborg and The Flash. In the Justice League, the director focuses more of his attention to the better-known heroes. He lets their legacy carry their story, not really developing their arcs or giving them a more in-depth analysis of the powers or reasons. And our new heroes are barely talked about when they fail to shine in every aspect. The Flash is almost always used as comic relief. Barry Allen has such a charismatic personality that it is hard to not let him tell some jokes to cut the tension. But Whedon doesn't know how to balance comedy and give the character the space to develop. In the case of Victor Stone, or as he is better known, Cyborg, in the theatrical Justice League, he is not the best character. The director decided to cut down most of his origin story, which is important since this is the first time we get to know anything about this man. Maybe comic book fans have a better knowledge of this character, but the people who just enjoy the movie were rightfully lost with him. There's not enough of him in the reworked version to get to know him or care about him, and that's a loss. Zack, on the other hand, treats Cyborg as the heart of the movie. We get to see his struggles and his influences. Family life is also crucial, not only for the character, but for the plot. Plot. Now, there's so much going on in this movie, with the introduction to heroes, saving the planet, and reconciling with humanity's best hero's death. We really get a big cinematic experience and a rollercoaster of emotions. Reworking the original product to another man's vision is a challenge that, of course, will damage the end product. In this case, it made the plot very confusing for audiences. Re-editing it to give it a commercial spin really affected the way the story moves. Its initial dark and more serious ambient was scrapped, and Joss decided to go for a more comedic, light-hearted experience, the kind of experience he had with Marvel. And that's fine. That works for Marvel because they established a more familiar and fun experience, but the DCU is used to more gritty, real stories. And again, fans were not happy with the results. Not only was the ambient eliminated, the story stopped making sense by the second act. The villain's backstory was done poorly, so we couldn't understand Steppenwolf's reasons for destroying the world. We were not properly introduced to Desaad, so that doesn't help for later movies. In general, the reasons for the conflict were not properly set up, so the ending made it very difficult for us as audience members to feel any satisfaction. And it doesn't help that a lot of scenes and characters were taken out of the final product. Scenes taken out and new characters. Since we spoke about Victor Stone for an extent, we need to discuss the most important character that was completely disrespected in the final version. Silas Stone, Victor's father, is an essential character for our heroes. Without him, they are lost in the existence of the Mother Boxes. Without him, Victor would have perished in the accident that killed his mother and wounded him. He is the glue that keeps the League together, and with his tragic sacrifice, the heroes found out how to end the danger. He wasn't the only character that got taken out. Zack had a bigger plan for the DCU and proposed to introduce characters from different universes so that they could converge and make the film even bigger and more exciting. First, with Silas's assistant Ryan Choi, who is more commonly known as the Atom. Zack talked to the studio so that he could add more people from the extended universe to get fans excited for new movies in the future. The same with the case of Iris West, the woman Flash saves at his introduction. So we know who she is when we see them together in the Flash movie. But alas, that didn't seem doable in Whedon's eyes. He didn't want to explain more than what was already happening in the movie. When Zack wanted to establish the DC family, Whedon thought it was more important to give a blockbuster to entertain: Martha and Lois. One of the most talked about scenes that got redone was the heartwarming one-to-one time Martha and Lois Lane got. In a scene cut from the final product, Lois and Martha share a deep and realistic conversation surrounding Kal-El's death. They're grieving the loss of a loved one. This scene showed very interesting writing, filmography, and script that detailed the difficult mental state of a person in mourning. These women share an intimate moment as family, processing life without their loved one. It shows how much care Zack has for the characters. He gives them space to explore these feelings. The way Joss Whedon reshot this scene was in poor taste. Martha and Lois do get a conversation, but it involves the planet, and it gives zero space to Lois to process her loss. She looks focused and unaffected, when the other take was more real and human. Zack focuses his stories with the humanity involved in every character. More inclusivity. It's been pointed out how the Snyder Cut and the Joss Whedon version have different approaches, and that has to do with the director's vision and opinions. But it's important to look at what Joss decided to cut for his version. And in this decision, he harmed the stories for people of color and women. People have pointed out how easy it was for Whedon to cut down the cyborg moment, even in scenes when he was only in the background. And you can see with the Snyder version how much he is on screen in comparison. It's also not the best look for Whedon to include crude, inappropriate for a children's movie, and sexist jokes. He's been accused on various occasions of being inappropriate with the women around him, and even threatening to end Gal Gadot's career for disagreements with the scripts. Just to compare the experience with filming with Zack and Joss, you can see the behind the scenes where everyone has a great relationship with Zack and are seen cracking jokes. And on the other hand, you can read all the reports from Ray Fisher and Gal Gadot about Joss's awful behavior in the reshoots and in the project overall. Something you can feel in the finished product. Now, for some other small changes that make a big difference. Gore. The R rating is very clear in the duration of the Snyder Cut. The theatrical release has a PG-13 rating for some fantasy violence and sexual jokes. But with the R rating, they showed the battles in realistic fashion. We can see blood, dismemberment, and more violent, savage finales for our main bad guy. In other superhero movies, it's very rare to see our favorite heroes killing in personal battles. It's mostly indirect, or other people do it. Our good guys have to be good till the end. This movie even includes some foul language uttered by people you wouldn't imagine. It's a more adult movie, done in a more mature style. Character design. It's known that fans weren't too happy with the initial design of Steppenwolf, and the Snyder Cut fixed those issues without a problem. His armor is more flexible and has allowed him to move during battle, an aspect that's essential for a warlord. It even has a fun feel to look like moving teeth of little knives that protect his whole body. A glimpse to the future. A lost opportunity or not? At the end of the film, we're met with a sense of expectancy. It's sad, but Zack had a whole universe planned for the DCU. With the epilogue, we can see how everything went wrong and resulted in a nightmare scenario. In this scenario, Lois, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman are dead, and we see a bad Superman transformed by Darkseid's influence. A bunch of Justice League survivors and a few others join together in the task of restoring the world or die trying. We even get a look at Jared Leto's Joker, aside from Batman. Zack was clearly giving fans a look of what the DCU would have looked like with his hand in the command. Sadly, his vision won't be completed as the first movie was met with critical and financial disaster that stirred the whole universe into another direction, focusing on doing solo projects, rather than big films that tackle the extent of the universe. But we can only hope for fans to ask the way they did with the Snyder Cut, and restore what could have been. And who knows, maybe there could be a new universe on the horizon. But which one did you like more? Tell us in the comments down below. If you haven't yet, press the like button for more fun facts about your favorite show. Also, subscribe to the channel if you want more inside information on the cinema industry. Turn on that notification bell so you'll be notified when a new video appears.